he wants. And then there's also a part who's like, can I back that up? And that's an interesting paradox with directness, right? So direct, as I've said many a time, is not a line or an opener or a thing you say. It's a way of life. It's a philosophy where I am trying to be clear. I'm trying to be transparent. I'm trying to get my needs met in a clean and obvious way, as opposed to a underhanded, covert contract, nice guy kind of way. And it doesn't always match up, right? So you're trying to do direct things, and then internally you have this feeling of like, okay, I don't know if I am that guy. I'm not always that baller beast that's just like, okay, I know what I want and I go for it. There is a bit of that fake it till you make it, which is kind of what you're going with, and you'll embody it at some points, and at other points you'll feel like you're a bit of a...
I think it's important to react to these types of videos to try and figure out what exactly is direct. What are these guys actually trying to teach you? What are the definition of these terms? And the more I watch these videos, the more I feel like it is that the guys that push the direct method, their definition of direct might not be the same as, say, mine or other people's definition of direct. It seems to me like being direct, as he said in that little clip, is going after what you want, which is taking action, which is just the basics of doing cold approach. And if you're not taking any action, then you're not even doing cold approach at all. So therefore, I'm trying to steel man what their term, their understanding of what direct is effectively dealing with approach anxiety. It seems to me, it seems like there's this philosophy about, they call it being a baller by just simply approaching. But approaching isn't the game. And anybody can approach, and the idea that if anyone can approach, what's the point of getting coaching in the first place? The idea here is, I guess a good analogy is if you're playing soccer or football, and you're afraid to walk on the pitch and play the game, then you're not even playing the game. It seems to me that when he talks about direct, it's going after what you want, and it seems to be just dealing with approach anxiety more than anything, just convincing guys to simply approach. More than, you see, when I'm talking about game, I don't worry about approach anxiety. I don't think approach anxiety exists. I don't believe in it, to be honest. I don't think it's a thing. You can be stifled, you might not be in the mood, but I don't think it's an excuse not to take any action. The most important thing is, once you are approaching, coming up with a strategy that gets you a higher probability of success. A higher rate of success. And it seems to me like a lot of the other coaches out there, they seem to be stuck in this real simplistic way of teaching it. And the philosophy is going after what you want, which is effectively just taking some action, which is effectively just dealing with approach anxiety more than anything. I don't necessarily think that is going to help you guys at all. Then all you're really doing is getting an approach coach. I will like to address the other aspect of this, is that he does say that it's an underhanded, covert, hang on, I say covert, maybe he's been watching my videos, covert and being indirect, my definition, isn't just approaching, but it's approaching higher mate value girls. So in general, if you tell a girl that she's attractive and you show a lot of intent early, she's more likely to reject a lower value man. Now, if you're a very attractive man, just say you're a 10 or a 9 or an 8 and you're approaching a 5 or a 6 and you're going very direct, she's going to look up and go, oh, higher value man. She's more likely to say yes to a higher value man, which is common sense. A lot of the black pill guys understand that. But I'm stepping a little bit deeper. I'm going further into what game is and teaching a far more complex method, which is indirect, which is going for girls that are above your mate value. Keep in mind, I'm about 42. If you have a look at my channel, you can see that most of the girls are around 25 to 21. That requires game, and that's punching up. And so therefore the method has to be better. It's not a numbers game. See, if you're a 6 running around the city, approaching a lot of 7s and 8s and 9s, the numbers are always going to be working against you, and you may never get laid at all. So you need a superior method. Now, this does take time. You have to work on it. It takes a lot of practice. But the way that the guys that push the direct method, they use it as if just having a conversation which is indirect, covert, and not blowing out an area and not embarrassing yourself, is somehow underhanded. When in fact, I would say it's less underhanded, because what you're doing is you're doing this in public with onlookers around, usually in a big city with lots of people that can see you. And if you're making a fool of yourself and you're blowing out the area, I would argue that these are straw mans saying that your philosophy isn't, you're not a real man unless you go direct. This is like the same old dying philosophy which a lot of these older coaches push, that I don't think is really helping men at all, unless you are an extremely high value man, tall, jacked, good looking guy. Then you can play the numbers game and go direct. And you will get some success, definitely. I'm not saying that any method, I think just approaching some guys will get success no matter what they do. But the goal here is, with coaching, is to maximize your approaches and increase your success rate per approach. That's the whole point of this. I don't think going out and getting coaching just to purely approach is really the best way to go about it. You should be working on how you approach and trying to refine that, and having a proper philosophy that increases your success rate. But I just wanted to address those 2 points. It seems like all the direct guys, it's really newbie beginner game. It's dealing with approach anxiety, and then what they do is they straw man any other strategy by saying that it's underhanded, it's sneaky, you're not a real man by doing it the other way. When in fact, if you try both, you'll realize that it takes a lot more courage to go indirect with onlookers around in a public place. That takes a lot more social awareness. You have to have a lot more situational awareness with onlookers around. You're less likely to blow out environments because you're not being a bit of a fool. And one thing that does happen with guys is they pump out a lot of approaches, and they get to like 5 approaches when they're going direct. They go bam, 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 and then the adrenaline starts kicking in, and they stop caring what people think about them. They get into this almost delirious state. And I've seen it so many times. Guys get in this delirious kind of crazy state. Next thing you know, they can approach everything. They go from, and these are guys that are new, they suffer from, at the beginning, they can't see any girls around. When they're surrounded by girls, there's girls everywhere. They get a few approaches out of the way. They get, say, 5 or 6 approaches. Next thing you know, the adrenaline kicks in, and they get into this insane, delirious state. And then, boom, they can see every set on the street, and they start spam approaching everything. And at that point, the adrenaline's running, their approaches are kind of silly. They've lost all sort of method to what they're doing, and they're just kind of running around a little bit crazy. This is when you blow out areas. I've seen it so many times. And it's kind of like just getting wasted, taking drugs or getting drunk and hitting the nightclub and spam approaching in there. There's not real method to that. And then it gets back to why you getting coaching at all if that's all you're doing. You can do that yourself. And so this is why I don't really recommend direct unless you're a super attractive, good-looking guy. Then what we do is we teach you a mixture of both of those. We teach you a little bit of direct, a little bit of indirect, and you have a mixture of both, and we see what works out best for you. And when you get older, you'll have those that skill after doing training with someone like myself that you can take for the rest of your life. But a lot of the older guys that come to me, they've done coaching with a lot of the direct guys. They've learnt a lot of that stuff. And they've either been in the game for 10 years or longer, and they've got to the point where they're starting to get a little bit older and they need proper skills. They need something that actually does work. They come to someone like me. I think I'm the only one in the world that actually teaches indirect. We get them results with a total different strategy. So if you're a little bit younger, you might as well learn it now. You can take it with you for the rest of your life, and then you don't need to change your game up again when you get older. Then you understand a little bit more about, in depth, what game is. So hopefully that makes some sense. Top link in the description. Check out my website. Follow me on Telegram. And give this video a thumbs up if it makes sense to you. I've got an Instagram. It's linked on the YouTube channel. Check me out there, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.